Okay, folks. Good morning. Let's start off with a little bit of cleanup because this is all over the place. Let's get rid of our Shermans that are complete. Put these things away. We're using the micro sol and the micro set. Yesterday I put the decal on. Really unhappy with these decals. It's the thickness of them. And I didn't know it was a known issue for petting house that they have thick decals. Because there's just nothing you can do about it. You can put all the micro sol in the world, but it's just too thick. So, looks good from there, but if you look really close, you can see the step up. You know, it comes and steps up to where the decal is and steps back down. So, anyhow, not sure I'm going to use them for any more American vehicles. Just kind of frustrating to do that and be real happy with them, except the decal, you know. Ultimately, it's not that noticeable, but it's just kind of frustrating to kick ass on the whole thing, and then when it comes to that, you know, it stinks. Let's put some of this stuff away, even though we pull it out a little later. Super glue. The other two Shermans, which we'll need to spray black before we do anything else. We're not going to spray right now. It is completely dark out. What else we need to get out of the way? Man, I wish one of these gray Panzers was in black. We'd jump on that. But they'll have to be sprayed as well. I could hand paint them, but be here a long time. So, I think we're going to mess with something in Dunkelgelb. Or at least attempt to. I think I need to figure out if the German decals are a piece of shit too, that I have that are really old. If not, when I order the American ones, I'll order some German ones as well. Although, to be honest with you, I could probably paint the Balkan Kreutz just fine by hand. But this is an old BP cast. Stug 4. And this is the first German one that we're going to do. I went ahead and already drilled the space for the antennas, so we can put those in afterwards. But let's mess with this in the similar method that we did for the Americans that I was really happy with. So I don't know if I'm going to be 100% happy with it because of how watery this paint is. But I think with a little bit of patience, it might be just fine. Where is the basic Dunkelgelb color? Now, I think the Vallejo color that they used, which looks wrong, is dark yellow. Man, it's pretty freaking close. These two are really close. So what I may do is, as the base color, I'm actually going to paint them both here. If they look real similar, I'm going to use the Vallejo as the base color because it's thicker. And I've got to put a lot down, kind of. So let's just do a test on that and see if they're the same. Because I do want to use the MIG 3-color scheme. But for the first dry brush, I got to put the most amount of paint down. So let's switch over to see if we can find a spot that doesn't have a lot of problems on it. Let's mix up this Vallejo. I hope they're exactly the same, honestly. That would make me very happy. And I may not like this as the base color. It may not look right to me. And based on how the test on this is done, I am going to be happy with it. And this was done over black as well, so. We should be able to. Oh, we sealed shut on this one. This is an old color. If it's close enough, then we're going to move forward, and I think it's going to be close enough. That's the Vallejo. Here's the MIG, and the MIG is super watery. Ah, they're close enough. Because I think this dry brushing on something is just way too watery as a base color, as opposed to this one. Yeah, they both kind of suck. And I'm not going to base things on white just because I'm putting a yellow color. It's okay. I don't mind that it's black underneath. I need it for the free pin wash, as I like to call it. Because I don't want to do a pin wash and an Agrax. That's just a whole lot of washing. All right, so let's grab something relatively big. Relatively large. This one should do fine. I don't mind testing it out on something like this. Let's grab the. We need more Vallejo than this. Let's do this. Let's. I know this looks extremely mustard-like, but this is somebody else's recommendations. Everybody speaks really highly of the MIG stuff. I'm not so sure. But there is going to be a Agrax Earth shade in there. Good morning, Dirk. Painting a bad guy today. This actually has some pretty nice detail for the Zimmerit on it. And this is going to look very, very yellow. Very, very, and almost greenish to a certain degree. Because it's a black base, but I want the black base because it's going to leave black in the tiniest little recesses. So we're going to do the same method we did with American vehicles. You're not really going to be able to see the color until after. You do that Agrax Earth Shade. Wash. And then work up from there. We got to do something about this. Let's not grab the tweezer because we need something that has a better purchase on it. That'll just take the whole end off. We don't want to do that. This is what we want. This is old and it's even going to break the end off. Well, that's what happens after a while. Let's just take it off. Maybe that's enough. This bottle I've had for 20 years probably. There you go. That's not too much because we're going to use it again. Now I'm going to be very hesitant to put a decal of a German cross on this vehicle because it's going to end up going on the part of the hull that has Zimmerit on it, which means it's going to have to microsol big time to stick to that uneven surface. I mean, it's an extreme of an uneven surface. So I probably will hand paint this one. This is a very crude model. If I'm not happy with how this turns out and I have to repaint it black, it's no big loss. Trying to leave myself an out no matter what I do. But I bet I'm going to be happy with the results of this. And no, I don't want it to look this color. This is just the beginning. If I wasn't going to do that Agrax Earthshade wash on it, there's no way I'd do it this way. It's just not going to look right. No way I'm going to be happy with how it looks. If that's the case. Yeah, see, we got like crude stuff. We're going to have to kick some mud up because it almost has mud molded onto this resin casting. And these models are pretty crude. Honestly, the worst thing about them is that they smell like mothballs. The resin actually smells like mothballs. It doesn't now, but it did before. And that's just, maybe there's somebody out there that likes the smell of mothballs, but there must be. There's people out there that like the smell of fuel, so mothballs is just as bad. I can see one thing I'm going to have to do at some point is order some brushes that are bigger. You know, like this size. I don't have very many that are this size because dry brushing is kind of the order of the day with the vehicles. And then if this doesn't work, if I'm not happy with how this turns out, I suspect the biggest culprit will be that I did it over black. But I don't want to hand paint this entire model in this color. I feel like I need to leave something darker on it, you know, in a few places. That's basically all I'm doing, is I'm just starting off from this color with like an overall black wash that I did to it without doing it. And also, doing it this method, I don't really leave brush marks, whereas painting the whole thing, I could. It's quite possible. I don't mind leaving some black back here, because that's the engine deck, and there's all kinds of sooty things that happen there. These aren't environmentally friendly vehicles. They're all kinds of... leave all kinds of pollutants behind. The nice thing is this is so dry and I'm applying it, I literally can put my fingers over it and the paint's not coming off of me. That's pretty cool. You know, just for a moment. Obviously we're going to seal this thing when we're done, but... okay, this is about done where it needs to be, so... like I said, it's got some pretty good detail. It has some crude things that I'm not really fond of, like the way this hatch, and it's not really a hatch because it's already molded that way. So that's there, and this is, I don't know how exactly he made it. It almost looks like this is a scale model that was dropped in some resin and he made a mold out of it. But I don't know exactly that's exactly what happened. Let me go ahead and do the front of this anyways. Yeah, it is a little different, I think, the MIG. So we might dry brush when we're done with this wash the MIG on up. We're just using this for the base color because we want this one to be kind of thick here. And then we'll switch to the 3 colors of the MIG afterwards, which the top color of the MIG is damn near white. Because it comes with 3 colors in this thing. That are the Dunkelgelb colors. And this is the Dunkelgelb base. This is, oh, grab the wrong one. Dunkelgelb light shade and Dunkelgelb shine. Well, this is almost like ivory. And then this one is like, almost like a bone color. So, we'll give it a shot. See if I'm happy with the results. I bet I could make it work. Let's get the edge of this on there. Okay. All right, let's rinse this guy. Now, we're going to use the Agrax Earthshade. I wish I should take a picture of the different stages. It actually doesn't look half bad. I mean, it's very yellow, but it'll become unyellow as we dust it up and stuff. But I mean, this is really a sorry model, and it doesn't look that sorry. I mean, the Zimmer, the Zimmer looks like shit no matter who does it. So we're gonna forego the pictures. That just takes extra time. I gotta disconnect the computer. Well, hold on a second here. Sometimes it's good to go ahead and do this since I can get in practice. Let's go ahead and disconnect this. Your screen will be frozen there for a second. I'm gonna come over here and use this as a camera. Okay. Now we're going to go back out of here. We're still on the network? No, we're out. Okay. It might actually automatically connect, which would be pretty cool. All I had to do is press the button again. Yeah, okay. That's what we'll do. We'll take photos as we go. Okay. Not doing photos for me, I'm doing them for other people. I like when I describe, hey, how I do things. Hey, just in case people want to know, this is how I do things. So people always respond, you don't need to do them that way, you need to do them this other way. Well, this is how I do them. If you want to do them in a different way, if I'm not happy with the results, I will go search other ways of doing it. But I figured it's a good opportunity to show other people if they want to see how it's done step by step, or how this worked out step by step, because this is learning as you go. All right. Agrax Earthshade, here we go. That's really interesting. Something that's happening is this seems to be reacting with the Vallejo and picking it off. I don't know if that was... Oh, we're going to move forward because we're on this boat. I actually don't mind it looking a little worn. I said this is just experimenting. Let me try not to scrub down on this. Good morning, Ian. Trying our hand on the bad guy this morning, using the approved colors from MIG, which to be determined if I like how they're going to look. This is really the base color that we're going to start from. Yeah, it's peeling that color off. Interesting. Well, the dry brush I put on it is also very thin, so I don't think I'm going to be disappointed by the time I'm done, but yeah, I need to not scrub this. I need to just put it down a little bit. Okay, that's about everything. All right. And I don't want to take a picture of it right now. I want to take a picture after it's dried, which this stuff dries pretty quick. I suspect in 15 minutes I should be able to start dry brushing on top of it. And that's where we'll start from. And I wish I had a gray one. I wish I had this guy primed all the way. But I don't. Man, this thing is so heavy. It's heavier than anything. Should have his scale, but how much it weighs. I swear this weighs like almost a pound and a half. It's really, really heavy. It's heavier than... No, yeah, it's pretty heavy too. One of you guys mentioned what company this was, and I couldn't find it now. And that's how it was, or something like that. I tried looking for it on the feed. It was on the feed. I didn't write it down when it happened, and I've narrowed it down to being a Stug E, a 3E. So that's what we're going to paint it for Barbarossa. Yeah, the dry brush is on there is pretty thick. It's easy to scrape off when I was putting this other stuff on top, so. We will see. What can we do meanwhile? We're not going to do the American vehicles because, like I said, I'm not happy with how this turned out. It's the decal. That's nothing else. It's just the decal. I need to go find some American decals that aren't made by Petting House. And there's a lot of them on there. There's actually a company called Archer Fine Dry Transfers, but come to find out they're out of business. They're on their way out, so they have very limited, but I would have been okay with dry transfer stuff. It's just this decal is so thick, and I've tried to microsol it and everything, so I didn't know it was actually an issue with these Petting House until actually sounds like some kind of an adult entertainment place. Where are you going to? I'm going to the Petting House. They have a lot of variety of stuff, but I'm not going to buy any more of their things if their decals are that thick. You know, what's the point? No point in doing that. Yeah, this stuff dries pretty quick. All right. What else we got in now? In black. What do you guys think? You think I should use this guy? This is a 176 scale. Oh, wrong one. This is a 176 scale Sherman. But it's a 105. And it's a HVSS, but it's just really, really small. It almost looks like a 187th scale. I don't know. I don't know if I should bother with it. I don't know if I should fool with it. I mean, the 105 barrel is even, it's even smaller than a 75, and I mean diameter wise. Maybe I can clean it up a little bit while we're waiting for that to dry, because it is something that we need to do anyways. I saw on some hobby site, if you want to scrape things or panel lines off things, but you don't want to go too deep, use the back of the X-Acto knife, and it seems to work pretty well. This is not a very good model. All right, we're going to glue that in place. See where the attachment points are. I find it very calming using this glue. I think it's this applicator that's just very quaint. Man, it's so small. Even the tools are barely on there. And the owner of this did not cut this thing off very well. It's very... I'm not going to use putty and all that stuff. I don't even have any. You can go to the store and get some. It's just... This thing will be fine for whatever it is, whenever it is that. Looks like the glue that was used here is that old tube model glue. Well, that stuff's worthless. I probably didn't use that after I turned maybe 14 or something like that. What's this? Oh, there's all kinds of stuff falling off of here. I don't know how old this thing has been. It might be something that they might have built 25 years ago, for all I know. So a lot of this plastic is kind of brittle. All right. Tired of dealing with that. listen to a runny nose on camera. I rarely have a runny nose either. Just a fluke. Yeah, I went ahead and pulled the tracks off of it because it's going to be easier to deal with than with them not being there. Look at a late stop track that the owner already put a staple through them. That's one way to deal with them. I'm a big fan of just about everything Japanese. Man, these old kits aren't the best. Hope Florida residents made it okay. Everybody I'm in communication did. I didn't even get a drop of rain, Patriot. Believe it or not. It's just that's the strangest thing. I'm not surprised that it really didn't have any effect where I live, because that's pretty common for us here, fortunately. We live far enough away from the coast, but not getting any rain at all? That is really strange. I mean, especially because it was raining every damn day before it came. Every damn day. I'm starting to think I was in the Pacific Northwest. So, but this has been, lately, I think this year's been like the extremes. It's like no rain for months, and then it rains like every day for nonstop. Which I don't really care about the rain. I just don't want thunderstorms, man. I can't deal with lightning. I cannot deal with lightning. But one of the places that we used to vacation to was exactly where the storm landed, and it's devastated. Fort Myers Beach, and we went there like 5 years in a row, relatively recently, for 4th of July. And it's like, if they had had a war, there'd be less damage. It just, it's just really sad. But it's a gentle reminder why I never want to retire at the beach, because I don't even know where you would begin, For your social gamer fans in the past, there's a guy who I heard from recently, and he lives in Fort Myers, and he said he was fine. So I don't know. A lot of the damages. You got the wind that does stuff. You got the wind that puts projectiles in the air. So if you get struck by one of those projectiles, that's a problem, or your stuff gets struck by one of those projectiles. If you don't have trees near you, that's helpful. And obviously, if you're not right on the coast, you don't have, that amount of the sea coming up 30 feet or 40 feet. So I'm sure people got... actually, I do know a guy who was in his house, and he had significant number of he had some damage. He said he had some damage. He was posting on the site, but You're from Texas, would never put a house on the beach in Galveston either. Just don't understand. Yeah, Galveston gets a lot of storms too. Louisiana, it's all, low. And there's a whole lot of ocean pushing on whatever that is. All right, there's a little something there is a hole for it. We'll have to research what that is. And right now I'm just killing time until that's dry. So I'm going to, let's glue this down. Where are glue points? There and there. All right. Let's go ahead and apply glue to those. Seal this up and see if Stoogie is done. Probably. Yeah, I love the beach. But let's just do a little exercise. A little exercise is going to go something like this. Say you put a house, say you're able to afford to live on the beach, which I don't know that anybody can. Just the property cost of it. Let's say you could afford to live on the beach. Somebody gives you the house. Let's say you can afford the insurance and the property taxes. And let's say after you have all that and you can afford all that and it's worth it for you, that you're in a place that doesn't flood from the ocean. Okay? Somehow you made a deal with Poseidon that he's not going to raise the water around your house. You're not going to get flooded away. I actually saw footage of a building in the middle that was literally floating down the road. Like, it lost its foundation and was going down the road. So let's say you got all that covered, right? Which can't be done. But let's say, you have a miracle, you used up one of your miracles, you could do that. All the salt damage that all of your stuff is going to go through just by being at the beach is like, a pain in the... I don't want to live there. I mean, it just... Do I like going there? Absolutely. Is it good for me? Oh, heck yeah. It's good for my skin. I have a mild skin condition. I'd say mild because there's some, heavy stuff out there that would benefit me to go to the beach. It actually kept me out of the service. But I benefit a lot by going to the beach. But no thanks. That's just way too many things I can't control. And then, water damage and all that stuff on there as well. This is just not for me. Salt damage. And this has the separate mud flap things, but man, they tore these things off as soon as they got a chance for. They got caught on something, so I don't see a whole lot of point in putting them on there. They fit something like... You just don't see very many pictures of tanks with them on. Yeah, they fit something like this. It's funny, the tank looks so much fatter. Let's get it out of there before it gets glued in. Because it's got the different tracks, the wide pattern tracks. Okay, how's Stoogie doing? Think that's dry enough. All right, I need to disconnect again, take another picture. I figured I was going to do it. If it turns out, how did you do it? I can show people pictures. Come on, come on. There we go. Yeah, that screen's going to be stopped for a second. Some parts of this have a red tone to it a little bit from the earth shade. Alright, now I should be able to, just like I did last time, just plug this back in. You don't want to run a video camera without or a phone without it being plugged in. And then just turn the Wi-Fi back on, and it should connect in a moment. Good to do that from time to time to make it easy. And I may have to press this other button here. And there we go. Yeah, that's what I gotta do. Okay, well that was pretty painless. I gotta refamiliarize myself with doing things like that. So it becomes a little more second nature. All right, so we used Vallejo for this. And it's almost the same color as the MIG Dunkelgelb. It's a little bit different. Let's try using the MIG one, even though the MIG one is extremely watery. Extremely so. It's formulated for airbrushes. Well, wouldn't you want thicker? If you have thicker in here and you have to water it down for airbrushes, you get more paint. So like, oh, it's pre-watered. Yeah, thanks for ripping me off, pal. I'd rather get thicker paint. You get more paint that way. It has a built-in stirring ball. Now, let's use the same brush. We're going to use the 3 tones that came in this Dunkelgelb painting thing from MIG. Everybody speaks really highly of MIG. I'm holding my breath. I hope it's great. I don't want to buy a product that it's garbage. And it's going to look too yellow. There's no doubt about it. It's going to look too like mustard yellow. I'm fully expecting that. But there's lots of layers to add on here. What is it with me today? Sorry about that. It's unlike me. Is it dusty or something in here? Probably. Everything's dusty. You getting sick? No, I haven't gotten sick at all since the COVID thing happened. I haven't gotten sick at all ever since everybody started washing their hands. That was the problem all along. Other people weren't washing their hands. I remember I went to Universal Studios a few months ago, earlier this year, and there was some kid that was like, he must have been like 20 years old, maybe 19, 20 years old. And he was old enough to know better. And he's wearing a mask into the bathroom, which is fine. You can wear one if you want to. He goes in the stall. I mean, it's not like make it want to sound like I'm stalking him, but it was just kind of strange, you know. He went into the stall, did his business, and he came back out and didn't wash his hands, but he's wearing a mask. I almost berated him. Almost. I'm like, yeah, I like leaving people alone. But I'm just like, what's the mentality with these people? You know, using a public effing bathroom. Why would you leave a public effing bathroom? Go into a stall and not wash your hands. What the hell is wrong with you? That's a good way to fail a morale check. Almost said something to him. I decided not to. I don't like when people get in my shit, so I don't like getting in other people's stuff, you know. But it's situations like that why I've always washed my hands when I leave a public restroom. People are nasty. Oh, this watery bitch. Seven quiet folks. Good morning, folks. Need to go look for some stars. I painted this guy yesterday, but I hate these petting house decals. They're just too thick. There's no way to thin them down with all the microsol in the world. So it's annoying to do a paint job you're really happy with, and then it doesn't turn out well because the decals are just too thick. And they're like extremely too thick. Now, if this vehicle doesn't come out looking awesome, some of it may be because it's not the best of casting. So I figured this is a perfect opportunity to try using this method on something that, if I have to repaint it, I don't lose a lot of... I'm going to say I'm not going to lose a lot of detail. The detail isn't that bad. It's inconsistent. It's kind of rough. And honestly, the fact that it has Zimmerit is not the rough part. It's pretty consistent looking. The Zimmerit's the size of the things are really consistent. Now, this still looks way too yellow. And based on my little Kubelwagen experience, the big difference is going to be when I put the next color on. And this is experiment one, basically. I did a little experiment on the Kubelwagen, which I didn't think it was going to turn out well. And I don't know if you can... I have confidence that this thing is going to look pretty good. The mistake that I make with dry brushing things, or the risk I don't take when I dry brush things, is I tend to not... And this is probably because of the style that I paint my normal figures. I tend to not have a huge color difference between the dry brushing levels, so it doesn't pop as much as it could. And using this next color is extremely lighter than I would normally do. But I'm going to do it anyways. But that's just something that I would have probably done it like half the distance between these two. I'm going to go right here and tell them exactly, what it's... I'm going to follow exactly how it's recommended. Maybe these Germans have diseases, and I've got picked up a plague from the Germans. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to disconnect and take another photo. And this is only if it turns out well and people want to say, how'd you paint it? I can send them some pictures, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. I don't want to hide, how I do things. I may come up with something that's awesome and might help other people. Keep from getting discouraged, I don't want people saying, screw this hobby. Now, it still looks way too yellow. This next step is where you're going to start seeing a difference. All right, let's reconnect this thing back up, which we should be able to do by putting the Wi-Fi back on, coming in here, putting the Droid Cam app back on, and bam, record time. See, that's why I got to do this shit more often. I'll be good at it. I'll be better at it. Okay, so that was the Dunkelgelb base color from MIG. All right. So now we're going to do Dunkelgelb highlight, another watery thing. And if this works out fine, honestly, painting it this way is pretty quick. And it's pretty satisfying too, because you get to see how it builds up. It's pretty forgiving, I'd say. Wait till I put this color right next to it. And it's going to blow your mind. Blow your mind how light it is. Because see, normally I would probably take this color and mix like dark sand into it or something. But this is like way over the top. Look at this. Look how freaking bright that is. Or how light that is. But I'm just going to go with it. The experts of MIG said that's the color to do next. And of course they're using it for airbrushing. But the color's safe for airbrush or painting. So. And the last color is insane. Might as well be white. We're going to follow it. Look at this. Crazy. Now I want to put it on cardboard. I wanted to soak some of this stuff up, or it would be unreasonable. And you want to start with the road wheels, because it's a lot easier to forgive the mistakes here on that than somewhere else. Now I'm going to go over really light. And I'm going to reserve judgment till I'm done with it. Try and do things with an open mind. Just like when I said, I'm going to try this set of rules and I'm going to give it 100 games. I'm not going to go with other people said they were no good. I'm going to try them out. And we'll either like them or we won't. And I won't have to twist anybody's arm. The people that I play it with will probably all come to the same conclusion. Same thing. We're gonna try this out. It seems a bit extreme. But let's get it a fair shot. To see how it turns out. Because anything that makes this thing look less mustard yellow is an improvement. But that's just the base color. But I have zero intentions to ever use an airbrush. I've used one before. It's a pain in the ass. It's a lot. It's a huge cost. I can't do this while I'm with you guys in my room in a comfortable setting. It's just not for me to go and airbrush in the garage, you know, with a compressor, and it's just noisy. You know, the girls are trying to sleep, and let's just figure this shit out together. You know, showing me the end results, how something looks, doesn't do me any good. You know, I'm not afraid of making mistakes on while I'm doing things. I think making mistakes and painting your way out of them and fixing them is an important skill to have, and you'll never learn that if you never make mistakes. Or, you know, show people, hey, look, this is going south. This is what I'm going to do to fix it. All right, I need to, you know, do that thing with glasses. Well, it's pretty light colored. I don't know that I dislike it. Man, the Zimmerit looks really nice, and I've got to touch up a few more things on here. Are we out? Yeah. And of course, as it dries, it'll change a little bit. And this is just the main spots, because we're going to come in and paint tools. We're going to come in and highlight things that need to be highlighted, like on this periscope and stuff. We're going to add dust afterwards. These two rusty pipes, they'll be all rusty and shit. This is just the main color. This is the modulation, or whatever that new name that didn't exist back when I was doing 1/35th scale models in the early 90s. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now, I'm going to move forward with this because, you know, it's a little bleached. I think I would, you know, there's lots of ways you could do the exact same base and, you know, mix these two colors to bring it up and not bring it up so heavy. You know, I'm going to roll with it. Now, one thing I'm really concerned about is this. This shine is damn near white. I don't think I'm going to use it. Actually, let me do one thing. Let's put some of it down. It's going to be damn near white. It is. I may put some of it there to mix with this other color for the highlight. So let's get a small brush. Doesn't have to be one that's perfect, which is good because I don't have very many of those left. We're not worried about the other camouflage colors if they have it at this point. I'm not sure if I'm even going to add the green. I actually prefer this. Well, I'm a Panzer gray guy myself, but I actually prefer just the green, not the green and the red. It would be nice if I could find a small brush for this. Maybe I need to go over here. And this is what I did on the Shermans, and it made a big difference. Yeah. F it. Let's break one of these open. And actually, you know what? Let's not highlight it yet. Let's just use this color straight. come in here. Okay, this tip sucks. I don't like to mince words either. If something sucks, I want to tell you guys, this stuff sucks. All right. Let's paint these little rivets on here. Come in and I don't dare use this paint on a wet palette. It's way too watery as it is. Paint out a little bit of water, we can do that. Thin this stuff down. I call this forcing the shadows. We also want to do stuff like this. Now I draw the line at chipping. I think the chipping, even when it's done right, doesn't look right. I want these to be war game miniatures, not uber realistic IPMS entrance. And when you start adding stuff like chipping, you start adding all kinds of stuff that they don't match your figures, you know. The figures look too undetailed compared to that. Just like if you do a winter scheme, right? If you kick ass doing a winter scheme, it looks like shit, you know? Okay, Dirk. Thanks for stopping by. I just find that a winter scheme, even done right, doesn't look well. Doesn't look good. Yeah, just like they slopped a bunch of paint on. Now, I have so many freaking T-34s that I'm probably going to experiment on doing a winter scheme and see if I'm happy with it at some point. But it won't be the first thing I do. bracket that goes across that. All right, we got some items here that could be painted in black. All right, let me put my glasses on and see what this looks like. That's about as much as I did on the Shermans, to be honest with you. And you guys are, you're getting a lot of kickback from this light. So it's not as bright as it looks there on the screen. Man, it looks pretty freaking good at 3 feet away in this light. You know, if you get a free pin wash out of it, what does it do? It solves putting a gloss coat down for it and then doing the pin wash, waiting for it to dry. It just solves all of those things. It's just, you know, I don't normally take shortcuts, and finding a shortcut I'm willing to take is kind of empowering, you know. All right, so we got some black things that we have to paint. Let's get the black out. This we will do the wet palette out, so we don't have to keep pulling black out here for it. When I think of this vehicle, I don't think I'm going to put unit markings on it, but when I think of this vehicle, warning, do I ever use brown camouflage over my Panzer Gray? Well, I haven't painted that many. No, I never have. It just doesn't look right, you know. I really wanted to do those Shermans in the 2nd Armor Division with the black camo, but I realized they didn't have any stars that were visible, and I wanted stars on my American vehicles, so I have not used Panzer Gray, and that's what we're going to do next, is after we do this Dunkelgelb and we kick its ass, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be really, you guys may not like it, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be happy with it. It's going to take a little bit of time, and we're going to do a Panzer Gray one. And I think I solved the little bluish tinge to it. I got to go get a soda. You guys bear with me for a second. Let me go get a non-adult beverage, and I'll be right back. You know what I think looks really good? I think if you do it right, the Panzer Gray vehicles that were sent to Africa and then ended up getting the dust on them. So they're almost like yellow, but they're not yellow. That can be really effective. Maybe I will try a Panzer, a dark brown over the Panzer Gray. Whatever you do will far exceed most hobbyists and painters in patience and detail. Well, I'll tell you one thing, and this was kind of an interesting thing that I never really thought about. But somebody we were talking about, and I forget who mentioned this, and I think it has merit. They were talking about Warhammer 40K, right? I've never played Warhammer, but I know their stuff is very expensive. And I know most people that I've seen playing Warhammer, Games Workshop stuff, don't have their things painted. And I'm thinking, some of the most expensive models out there, and people aren't painting them. Why is that? And what I've heard from some people say is that they're intimidated by how well some of their miniatures are painted. And there's no doubt about it. I don't do science fiction, but many of the people that they have painting Games Workshop stuff, they're true wizards. They really are. Now, I know that their effects take time to achieve. There is no, you can't dip your way into a White Dwarf magazine. It's going to take a lot of time. And maybe people think they could just, there's shortcuts to it. I don't know. I'm not intimidated by stuff I see. I see something, and there's a couple of painters that I really, 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 really admire. Miniature war game painters, not 1/35th scale modelers. Okay, that's just a different world. Okay, 1/35th scale modelers never going to play with their toys. What's the point? I've been there. It's not for me. And but those guys who I like their stuff even more than the things I make empower me to go, you know, I can do better. I can kick it up a notch, you know, because it's just a trick. At this point, I know it's just a trick. It's trick and patience and perseverance, and you're going to encounter things that don't turn out well, like I do all the time. And, you know, you can't solve problems if you never have any. So I'm not discouraged by stuff like that. I see somebody's stuff I like better than my own, and I'm like, all right, Tony, time to kick it up a notch. And, but I guess other people, that might not be the case. But I love seeing stuff I like better than my own, because it's like, okay, how can I improve, you know? How can I do better? But it isn't by taking shortcuts. I wish it was. And a lot of this is perception. If you know something is going to take a long time and it takes a long time, it's okay. It's like if you go on a trip, right? If we drive to Historicon, and it's like 15 hours to go to Historicon for us, and it takes 15 hours, we're not surprised because it's a 15-hour drive. If you go to Orlando, which is let's say round up to 2-hour drive, and there's a huge traffic accident, and it takes you 5 hours to get there, you're pissed, and it seems like it's a trip to the moon. So a lot of it is just perception. You know, I'm going to paint a figure, and it's going to take about 4 hours to paint it. I'm not 15 minutes in wondering why the fuck I'm not done with them. It's a 4-hour project, you know. So, and I've seen other people paint things. One of my painting heroes, he does a good job his vehicles look better than a real vehicle. You put a real vehicle next to it, and real vehicle looks like shit. I've seen his painting videos. His painting videos must take 30 steps. I wouldn't get anything done if I painted like that. So, and actually his vehicles I think look too realistic for the gaming table. You know, I think the vehicles need to match the figures. So if your figures look a certain way, then the vehicles I want them to look a certain way. Where's my BAR gunner that I use for, where did he disappear off to? Oh well. But I just rebased these guys from painting them many years ago. I need to put the little grass on them and stuff. So they look kind of like a graphic novel. That's kind of how my painting style is. And I think the vehicles need to match the same painting style. I want them to. So I don't want to do, you know, rust streaks or paint chipping. Especially not paint chipping. Paint chipping is a relatively new thing. And, well, 20 years ago, when I was, I swear nobody was doing it 20 years ago. I guess 20 years ago ultimately is not a new thing, but it is to me. I've just been painting nothing but DBA-style armies for the next 20 years. So, we won't be painting any 15s the rest of this year, which is not too tall an order, because The year's kind of over with. But I don't find other people's stuff discouraging. I think that you look at him like, man, I really like the way that guy did his groundwork. Like, what did he do? And I try and dissect what colors he used. Or maybe you ask him, and hopefully he's not a dickhead and tells you how he did it. Because I'm not afraid of sharing my information with somebody. I can't take it to the grave. And maybe I've happened upon some method that would keep someone from being discouraged. I mean, everybody wants to be happy with whatever it is that they did, you know? That's why I don't really like people like poo-pooing other people's work. You know, like somebody could have like the biggest piece of shit that they do. If they're happy with it, let them be happy with it, you know? Maybe they'll see something that they like better and they'll improve, but if not, this is therapy. This is therapy from the real world. So don't discourage people, or it may be somebody keeping themselves from being a serial killer. Like I was a modeler and I was perfectly happy, but everybody discouraged me, and now I can't use that for R&R. There's lots of things I don't like on the internet. I don't feel like I need to comment on them. Just like I don't want people saying, hey, I don't like the color you used for that. Well, then paint it your own way, you know? I may decide to do Dunkelgelb a different way next time I do it, you know? Winter scheme are difficult. They sure are. Even real vehicles, they don't look right. You need to make it look like whitewash. Experimented with Stugs and Shermans, getting better. Opposite with my Panzer Brigade 150 fake Hellcats. They're violet drab. I like the violet brown more than the US. I just do. It looks better. I like it a little bit less green. Yeah, the whitewash is weird. Because what you see, this is the style I like. I like you leave black in the crevices, right? So let's say I was going to give this a winter whitewash. You're going to get some of the whitewash in the crevices. And so you undo what you've done. I bet if I winterize this, I could still kick its ass. I would have to do the whitewash like a dry brush and use a brush maybe of this style and maybe even of that size, and just go, I don't know, I'm going to try it on the Russians because I got so many damn Russians, and if anybody's paint jobs look sloppy, it's those commie bastards. Okay, so we're going to end up dirtying that stuff up. We got to do black on the road wheels. And I don't super focus on this. This is another shortcut that I've kind of done. I think on all the Shermans except the first one, I never painted the rubber. Because by the time I end up dusting it up, you hide it all anyways. So we'll do it on this because there's such a big contrast between the two. But the other thing is there's a little bit of a rim between one and the other, so I got to be careful. The return rollers, I believe, on this one was steel. I watched a video recently on, what do you guys call it in the UK at Bovington? Tank Fest? I think Tank Fest. And it had several vehicles that were parading around in front of the crowd. And of both sides. Actually, they had a Japanese vehicle too. That cute little Hago. And they had some Panzers, and they had a T-34, and they had a Shermans. And then the first thing that struck me, not knowing what these things sound like, is there's so much rubber on the American treads that they don't sound as, they sound a lot softer. The German vehicles, it's like steel on steel, and it's just like, rough. Same thing with the Russians. The Panther sounded horrible. The Panther, super, super clunky. But then, you've got a tank that's got an extra 10 tons on it, what it's designed, so maybe that's part of it. Oh, no, we could see a little rims from this direction. But it was interesting listening to the vehicles. With regard to unpainted Games Workshop figures, I remember that was a problem in store tournaments in the 90s, and they imposed a minimum 3-color rule. Is that what Games Workshop's known for, is imposing shit? I've never played it. I've never played Games Workshop stuff. Unless you count Talisman. I played Talisman. What the hell's wrong with my nose today? I can count my day. I can count on 2 hands how many times a year I blow my nose. It just doesn't happen. Getting sentimental. Yeah, it's weird. There's 2 things I would have a problem with Games Workshop. The biggest one is the codex problem. Like, I want to learn how to play this game. Are these all the rules? No. Some are in different places. That alone is like, forget the cost. Let's say somebody gives you all the rule books. It's just a headache. It's like finding stuff in DBA, but now there's multiple DBA books. So that's probably a number 1 problem I would have with it. Assuming I was interested in the period and so forth. There was actually 3 Games Workshop games I wanted to get in on. And before I got the money, of course, this was back when I was basically poor. I was going to say poor student, but I think it was even before I was a student, before I was a college student. Those games were Man of War, and it was all because of White Dwarf, because White Dwarf puts things on there that makes you salivate, right? They got some brilliant people on there painting things, or at least they used to. I'm sure they probably still do. Man of War, Dark Future, and Epic. Epic 40K. And all 3 of them were discontinued and unsupported before I got into them, thankfully. Because I can't imagine spending thousands of hours and painting something for somebody else's rule set. And then just like that, they pull the rug out from under me and cancel the game. So that mentality doesn't really work well for me. World War II skirmish. What rules am I going to use? Rules that are out of print. Do I care? No. I'm probably actually happy they're out of print, because if something doesn't make sense in them, I haven't encountered something that doesn't make sense in them yet, but I haven't played them in 20 years, so I got to refresh. If something doesn't make sense, I'm going to change it, because it's not like I'm going to publish the rules. I'm just trying to create a game that's going to have a really cool narrative, But I find it really strange that miniatures go out of production. It's never the ones you want to keep. Like, there's lots of miniatures that I didn't like 25 years ago. I don't think are very good, and they still make them. And I'm like, those are the ones they need to discontinue. Games Workshop games change so quickly you don't even have time to paint the figures before they become unofficial. Yeah, that business model doesn't work for my psyche. You can get somebody else to buy into that. But I'm not a very what's the terminology? I forgot what it is. You know, where you're always trying to up one your neighbor. That's not me. I'm like, I'm happy with what I do, and you know, and that's good enough. Keeping up with the Joneses. I'm not a keeping up with the Joneses person in anything I do. Matter of fact, there's a car show this weekend. I'm not going to go to it. I realize most people are the same no matter what they're into. They're just, a lot of people are just like not happy with their lives, and they just want to make other people unhappy as well. You know, the car scene's really annoying. Like, same thing with firearms. People are like, that thing sucks. I got 3 of them and that thing sucks. And they're probably full of shit, or maybe they're not, but you know, they're just always poo-pooing each other's stuff. So don't get me wrong, I can be negative, but not about my hobby. This is a good thing. I don't like being negative about the hobby. The only thing negative about this hobby is sometimes you deal with people that are negative about the hobby. Other than that, it's awesome. So that Games Workshop model doesn't work for me. I have no interest in spending. It's not even money. And I'm not saying that money isn't important, but time is the biggest factor. Because we have a limited amount of it. And you don't want to waste it. You want to put it to good use. You have Man-O-War, High Elf, and Bretonnian fleets not played since middle 90s. Will sell when I find my rules. Still occasionally play War Master. They had a small one-day con yesterday in Jacksonville. I didn't go to it because I hadn't planned on going to it. And then we got given tickets to go to the football game. And they weren't just regular tickets. They were kind of in an elite area, and I'm like, I'm not passing that up. That was a really cool experience. And I'm not a sports fan, but that was really cool. So I didn't go. So I wasn't able to, I was going to do something cool, video related yesterday. It'll have to wait till next week. I'm glad I didn't announce what it was, because I don't like saying, hey, I'm going to do this, and then I don't. That's just not part of my personality. I don't like saying, hey, I'll be over there on Tuesday, and then on Tuesday I don't show up. I don't like doing that. We've all experienced people that do that in real life, and I really dislike it. So I try not to do things like that. Sometimes things happen in real life that there's no way to prevent that, but I don't like to cry wolf, that nobody believes you. Well, let's see, why is that? So we'll try again next weekend. Okay, that's probably good enough because we're going to dust the shit out of this. Now we do need to not forget the spares up here. Now technically, I've seen spares painted over afterwards and they spray on all the rubber and it doesn't look right. I don't care if they did it in real life, it doesn't look right. To my eye, as you folks in the UK like to say, I've heard several people from the UK use that saying, I like it. It doesn't look right to my eye. Anyways, I starting to say this, and then I didn't get around to finishing it. There was a little one-day con in Jacksonville yesterday, and one of the first games they played was Man of War. So, Joe Coton actually, he texted me, say, hey, I'm here, I'm playing Man of War. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd like the game, but I remember the pictures in White Dwarf. It looked awesome. Sea monsters and dwarf battleships and I played Talisman. I played Hero Quest once, and I have Hero Quest on the phone. I think that's what it's called, something like Hero Quest or whatever the other. There's a couple of the Quest games, and I think they're all spins of each other. But one of them is on the phone. It's actually a fun little dungeon crawl game. It's kind of limited. It ends up getting really repetitive, but it was fun for a little bit. Okay, we'll have to touch up the rim on those. So this is kind of a rough model, so let's go over to this side. You guys are getting a lot more kickback than I am. And kickback, I mean like it's looking a lot brighter than it actually is. Let's see if I can make that look more accurate. This light is awesome, but man, it's sometimes just too powerful. Maybe that's a little bit more accurate of what I'm seeing. And it's not green at all. It looks like it might be green in this lighting. You never play... Man of War had a huge footprint, could only really play it at Aberdeen War Games Club. Okay, so it took up a lot of space. Never played a Games Workshop game, used to use their paint in the 80s, then decided they had enough money without me contributing to their profits. I like their paints. I still have some of the original paints. The makeup of them is incredible. See, now it's too dark. Now I've got to brighten it back up again. It's an imperfect thing, you know? What if I change this setting to automatic instead of daylight? What do we get? Yeah, that might not be that bad. Let's move it back to daylight and see what we got. Incandescent. That's the wrong move. Like cloudy daylight. What do we get? Honestly, I wish it looked like that. But it looks kind of faded. This color is going to fade like a mofo in real life. You put this on a vehicle. Let me do something. Let's go grab one of them olive drab vehicles. It's done. Put it next to you. See how these enemies look next to each other. I rather like how it's turning out. But then I could have used other colors and probably liked how it turned out. So maybe that's something we'll do. Next time we paint it, I don't know. Certainly there's lots of different versions of how that Dunkelgelb ends up being used. I'm pretty happy with it. And we haven't even painted the tracks and tools and shit. One thing I always associate with this vehicle is I don't think I'm going to do any divisional markings for any particular division. It's the 17th SS in Normandy. I don't know why. I think it was a picture that I saw of it with Zimmerit, and I just remembered that, but I don't think I'm going to make specific vehicles. Certainly not SS vehicles. I'm not a huge fan of those guys. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a fan of them at all. And I do have SS troops to paint, but I don't have a single one of them painted. That's something for another day, I think. I would want to do that just for the challenge. '17th SS was, if I remember correctly, deployed against the Americans outside Utah Beach. And I know it didn't have any tanks. But I'm not putting divisional markings on any of these vehicles. On the German ones, anyways. It's going to be hard not to do it on British vehicles. Because the British markings are extremely prominent and very pretty too, so. This is probably the most tedious part. You know how you avoid this? Only paint German vehicles that had steel road wheels. Only late Panthers and Tigers then. There may have been some Mark IVs that had only steel road wheels. I don't remember. Maybe some J's, some 4J's had them. Maybe some late Jagdpanzers had them as well. So all this is going to get dustified or dry brush on it. Now I'm pretty sure these two things in the back are rusty. They're muffler type things. I may need to look and see if that's the case. I hope they are. That has some other colors we can add to that. And I've got a pretty good method that I'm happy with on how to make rusty stuff. Opportunity to try that. But I don't have a lot of interest as of late to play competitive stuff. I shouldn't say that. Tournament stuff. Always play competitive. But I don't necessarily have a problem with competitive stuff. Just it brings out the worst in some people. I really haven't had that much of a bad experience with it, but just making the videos that I have done in I'd say the last year, where I'm really talking about what I'm doing and why, are actually a lot more fun for me. Not keeping quiet because I don't want my opponent to find out what I'm doing, you know? I'm going to play exhaust with dry brush rust or brick red with a thin dark wash. I've got a color that I mixed up by accident, and it works really well for rust. Okay, that's going to be good enough for the governments. Let me touch up that little wheel thing now before I forget about it. Let's, where is this color? Just looking at that just looks like that's something that's going to rust like crazy. And where's the other one? This one? Good Lord. There we go. There we go. Mm-hmm. Nice. Anything we feel like we need to touch up on the wheels, even though they're kind of sloppily cast. There's only so much I can do. Nah, I don't really see anything that's going to be beneficial at this point. All right, let's see if we can find somebody with a plastic model of a Stug 4. Stug 4. Damn it. Years of calling it that are not going to be easy to undo. Let's see here. Oh, there's a real one. Here's one with a different back. This is probably a late one, to be honest with you. With that double exhaust. And it actually had Schertzen that you could put on it, but they were too thick. I am not a Schertzen fan at all. I think it makes just about every vehicle look worse. Early production, yeah, this is not early production. All right. There we go. Change it to Stug 4 rear. All these have the long muffler like the Panzer 4s normally do. I've never seen this double exhaust thing on here until this one. What's he got on here? Okay, that's all rusty. Good, that's exactly what I expected. All right, I think we're gonna take some risks. What do you mean by that? See if I'm man enough to do this. I think so. I'm gonna drill in the end, so we have a little bit of a divot. But I'll be right back in a second before we do that. Okay, let's get that it's not here on the table. I got so much stuff on here. Just my table's starting to look like everybody else's. A pickup of this room is definitely in order today. Where's my pin vise? Here it is. That one should do fine, but I think we need to go to something smaller first. Doesn't have to be very deep, just something to give a little bit of impression of three-dimensionality. There's some drill bits in here that are just terrible. And that's from buying some Chinese piece of shit set a while ago. Something I no longer do. For two reasons. They come from China. The second one is they're a piece of shit. It's a double whammy. Now, I gotta be careful I don't push too hard on this because, is this thing flexing already? I mean, it doesn't have to be deep at all. Yeah, it's kind of wobbly. All right, we'll just get that started there. And the same thing here. Okay. Then let's use this bigger one now that we have a center for it to sit on. I remember this from the 1/35th scale modeling days where you got to drill out the end of the barrel a little bit just to add that little bit of depth. There we go. Just a minimum of pressure to keep this thing upright. Nice. Okay, I'd go deeper, but this resin's really I'm going to keep this out because then it's hard to find. There's a lot of these Chinese ones, they suck because the ends are totally flat. They don't have a something where you can get them started, not rounded. It's totally flat. All right, I think it's track time and such. So we're going to make this more rusty, but I think we're going to start with chocolate brown on these rusty things and work up from there. Maybe even this SS Camo Black. It's a little too close to the black. I'm just going to be wasting my time, so let's put some chocolate brown down here and go to town with a chocolate brown. We're going to drop a little bit of this black in there. We don't want that resin color showing. God, it's almost too light. You know me, I always got to mix shit. Always got to mix it. Well, that's a nice smooth part in the back to put a Balkan Kreutz. We can certainly put one there. And one would normally go here, but I'm going to have to hand paint it if I put one on there because that is just too... And I don't know how these other decals are going to behave. They might be just as shitty as the Petting House ones. And I don't know if I'm going to put other camouflage colors on it. I don't know at this point. I'm open to it, but... I know the Panzer IV that we do will only have green on it. So I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I wouldn't do anything any different if I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to. But one step at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm going to stop using the Vallejo airbrush thinner for a little bit. I have a feeling that one thing that it's causing is it's causing the breakdown of the paint. Now, it didn't used to do this. It's causing like the breakdown of the paint, whereas and it's causing it to like ball up and like little balls. And that's happened in the last month, and it hadn't happened before. I'm not really sure what's causing it, but I'm going back to just thinning with water a little bit, just for flow. And just see how that works, if I'm happy with those results. And we're doing it this color because this is the base color of Rusted. These tracks are all metal, all. So just we're gonna do some. After we get to the point, we're gonna put a lighter color on here for that, and then we'll have some bare metal on it. And of course, it's gonna end up getting dry brush with the Iraqi sand, which is what we use as the final highlight on from the base color of the bases. That's why I'm pretty happy using this. Spray paint it black first. Not have it some yellow color that you have to repaint every single spot on it. Obscuring detail, etc. Okay. And then here comes the fun part, because the front of this vehicle is like made up of like two halves. These tracks have like no detail on the side at all. So they are just wargaming models. Let's not forget the spare track that we have on the front. Okay, let's flip to the other side. Oh, I guess I stopped taking pictures. Oh well. Fuck it. I can only do so much as I went along. Oh well. I like to, people say, how'd you paint that? I said, well, I got it on video. Well, I don't have time to watch a video. I said, well, you can fast forward it. If you don't have time to watch my video fast forwarding to the parts that I'm doing, then you won't have the time to paint it this way, because you won't have the patience for it. Okay, and then we'll redo that metal color here, make that pop. I think I'm going to be really happy with this thing. I think I'm going to be really, really happy with it. And I did the vehicle that I thought was the least risk. I always do that. I always like, wow, what if it turns out wrong? What if it turns out in a way I'm not happy with? I don't remember last time I did something I wasn't happy with. But there's still like this stigma, like this cloud. Like, well, what if it doesn't turn out well? Knowing that I don't remember the last time I wasn't happy with how something turned out for me. You guys may not have liked it, but I was happy with it, so. That's what'll get me discouraged, when I'm not happy with something. All right, let's do the tracks on this side. That Panther I have built will be redone. We'll redo her. I have a few Panthers, like 4 or 5 of them, which is a plenty. But it sounded like shit moving around. It all actually moved around like something that wasn't supposed to move, and to put wheels on it to move it, it was like, you know, when it stopped, it would like be jerk. It would just jerk back. So now when I was doing 1/35 scale models, you know, and people did, oh, you got to use Panzer Gray, right? We used Tamiya paints all the time. Which just before we used Tamiya paints, only thing you could use was enamels. So those paints were a huge step forward, because you could clean your brushes with freaking water. I mean, talk about, you know, a godsend. So we were really happy with those. Their Panzer Gray actually was a nice Panzer Gray color. But at the time, I don't think there was this whole talk of the little blue tinge to it or whatever. Now they got like blue washes you could put on top of it. I was screwing around the other day, and I think I solved something I'm pretty happy with. And that's just use a dry brush of this Luftwaffe German color, and it's got a little bit of a blue to it, and it turned out really. You can't see right now because I ended up dirtying it up, but this Panzer II has a little bit of a blue tinge, which I actually like the way that looks. And you know, it's probably just fading, so I'm not gonna get the. I don't think I'm gonna get the MIG colors for the Panzer Gray. I got enough grays I can make it work, and I'm gonna use that blue to do a couple of the vehicles. But I gotta spray them black. So. That's another thing we got to do, is we got to do a Panzer II, because that's going to be I think that'll be a good matchup against the armored car that I have. I got to set up some 1-to-1 matches on my own to see how these vehicle rules work. If they make sense. I think they do. They look good on paper. But again, it's got to make sense. I'm kind of entering a phase where everything I'm going to play from now on will not be abstract. It'll make sense, and Really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to a non-Algebra 2 type environment where things are abstract and don't make any sense to me. So that's with ancients and everything else. So really looking forward to maintaining my sanity. Okay. Any other tracky type things on here? No. All right. Let's go to the exhaust. Get that thing, because that's going to be a lot rustier than the tracks are going to be. Because the tracks are constantly going to have, like, you know, sand and shit on there. It's going to change the color. So, is it this color? I think it's this one. I think it's orange brown. I don't think it's the leather one. I think it's the orange brown. Yeah, there we go. Actually, I like this brush. I'm glad I pulled this thing out. Some of these bigger brushes are actually okay as long as you can get the tip where it's manageable. The number 5. Well, the number doesn't mean anything. Not to me, anyways. Let's mix some of this in. All right. I'm liking the water thing as opposed to the... the airbrush thinner. All right, we're going to leave the tops darker. That's where it's going to be sooty. Let's mix a little bit more in here. According to this bottom section was left painted. Now let's let that dry a little bit. Okay. Rest of these tracks. Now we'll use the same brush. And let's mix with this. I don't want it that watery. So the method I saw somebody use for airbrushing without airbrushing is they'd paint on these thicker lines, right? But thin. So thin, like, I don't know, something like this, okay? And then, so you get everything where you want it, but of course it's this thin. Obviously, if you're using a pattern that's that thin to begin with, it's not a big deal. But then you water it down and expand it, and it kind of does like a fade. And that's how I'm planning on doing the patterns. It's the ones that are brushed by hand, because that's how the paint came in pails. You know, they gave them pails. You know, it came like this color from the factory. And then they gave them pails of green and pails of the red-brown. And they applied them in the field however they wanted to. They could hand paint them, but they cut them with either clean fuel or turpentine, or it could be dirty fuel, so the color of it could change a lot. So there's some variations in it for sure. And that's, I think, a system worth exploring. Because even if you airbrush in this size, you've got to get your airbrush to go down to your airbrush is 70, well, it's smaller than an airbrush would be on a real vehicle, but still it's significantly larger than it would be in real life. So you've got to make your spray significantly smaller. But I think that's worth exploring. But like I said, I didn't really know what color I was going to make this thing going in. I know that my Jagdpanzer 4, I definitely want it in this color and green, like the 1/16th Panzer Division had in Normandy. I had a model of it in 1/35th scale many years ago, based on illustration in a squadron book probably, and I painted it like that. It'd probably look like shit now if I took pictures of it. Like, why did I keep pictures of this thing? There's a reason why I didn't keep any of them. I wouldn't be happy with them now. I can guarantee that. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's, before we get any farther along, let's go ahead and do this brace that's across the front of the tracks. See if any of this color is still alive. Of course not. Put a fresh batch of this. breaker. Base Iron Warriors. And we're not going to go crazy with this, but there's a couple places we need to hit. The worst thing about this paint is these pots that don't want to stay open. And transferring them over to something else, I'm never doing that again. That's not worth my time. So let's get the jack going here. That's about it. All right. And remember, this is going to get dry brushed again with the Iraqi sand off the ground. So this isn't the final color. I need to not use this. I need to not use this. This is going to get, that thing's actually behaved really well. Let's not punish it by using it for dry brush duties. Dry brushish duties. The tips of these are just weird stuff is happening. And it might be due to the airbrush thinner. I don't know. I've seen people paint tracks like really rusty looking and then just doesn't look right. That may be the way they look, but it doesn't look right. Not to my eye. Not to this guy. Let's do a couple things. First thing we're going to do is let's make a base for him. I'm going to have to put some of that goop on there. It's going to have to dry. Yep, let's keep the same length. I'm pretty happy with that. How much meat do we have around this thing? I guess I could do the same width. Wouldn't that work? Let's see. Sure would. Let's just be consistent. Why not? Why not? It's mainly just so that I have a place to magnetize it, so that if I gotta transport it somewhere, they're not sliding all over the place. Like this vehicle doesn't need to be on a base, other than for transport. Where is X-Acto knife? Hidden back here. All right, we don't need thicker than that, wider than that. Man, it should be fine. There's no point in making it a tiny little bit wider. Just mark it down. Okay, let's move you out of the way. Using this one to be consistent. 4 viewers. Thanks for hanging in there, folks. Let's round these corners off. Okay, Patriot, thanks for stopping by. Okay, this is the side that we're going to put the goop on. And this is the side that gets the magnet. I think the magnet sheeting is up here. It is. This stuff is super cheap. Trying to not be super wasteful. I believe this is the size we're using. That's correct. All right. Ben Waddy, good morning. Working on the Nazi bastards this morning, or one of them anyways. One Nazi bastard coming right up. Okay. See ya. Yep. I'd like to get this guy done today. Maybe not in this painting session, but I mean, you know, today. 'Cause I got quite a few things I want to do around the house. Not right this second, but and then we got we still got a wooden thing to take care of that. We need to go ahead and goop this. All right, let's get the goop. Should probably think about ordering another one of these before. I'm really going through this stuff now compared to 15 millimeter basing. And this stuff is just stellar. This stuff is really, really good. It dries faster. Big plus. Big plus in that department. Oh my God, some of the older stuff that's off the top there. Stuff sounds so gritty because it is. It's almost like scraping your boots across rocks or something, like gravel. I'm glad I decided to jump on this instead of fighting with those U.S. stars, man. I gotta order some. This not from Petting House. It's a shame there's not more options. Actually, there's not that many. I actually came across a site that had a really good breakdown of decals for, I think it was actually for Sherman's. And, you know, lots of their suggestions were things that were no longer in production. I hate when I find out things are out of production, and then something is really just, I think, not very good still is in production. But I guess people have other tastes than I have. I think there's another level to this Viejo olive drab situation. Seems olive brown is back. And the range is 7889, and US olive drab is 7889, S7 with a Panzer series branding. Okay, so let me tell you what I know. I have 3 colors. All right, the original one, brown violet, 887. 887 US olive drab is the one that replaces it with the same color, but I have another one that I call Vietnam olive drab, and it's significantly darker, and it's 889, and it's even browner, and it's kind of like this. This is like this. Now I haven't painted this, but this is the color it came, and the old one was like this. It's kind of something like that. this one is this color. You look at it and it's like, oh, this is kind of green, but it isn't. This is like true. It's like a brown. So maybe I'll try a vehicle in this. It just seemed like it was a little too Vietnam. And I say Vietnam because there's a place that in nearby where they have some Vietnam era vehicles and they're painted in a dark color like this. Maybe we'll try one in that color. I don't like the green one as much. You know, here's the green one. It's a little too green. Now, if you watch movies and stuff like that, and you know, it seems like this wouldn't necessarily be an accurate color, but and I think this is too dark. You know, oh well, to be continued. But that's all I know. I don't know anything other than that. But I hate when things get discontinued. It annoys me. You know, it annoys me when I've got these figures that I bought as soon as they came out, and then I went and played DBA stuff for 20 years, and then, oh, they don't make those anymore. What are you doing with those? Those aren't available anymore. I'm like, what did you guys... I just stepped away from a moment, and you guys, like, crashing the iceberg. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And then some figure manufacturers, like FAA. I don't care for FAA 20mm figures at all. I don't care for Britannia. I don't care for... Actually, there's a lot of figure manufacturers. Actually, 20mm more than 15s. There's very few 15 manufacturers that I'm like, I'm not using them in my army. I'm not using Britannia guys in my 20mm. Or SHQ. Which are kind of polar opposites of each other. The Britannias have extremely strong features and they're very cartoonish. And they have this very distinct face, which doesn't necessarily look out of place, but every single soldier has the exact same face. That's a problem. That's a problem for me. SHQ has hardly any features at all. They're very, very soft, very almost like plastic miniatures. And FAA also have a very distinct face. I don't like any of those. But there's some brilliant figures in 20mm. ABs, the battlefield ones, the combat miniatures. And I've got plenty of all those, so I don't really need any figures for 20mm. The figures that come with the Plastic Soldier Company vehicles seem to be pretty good. Some of them, the pose is a little wooden, but I've only seen pictures of them online. I hope one day I'll get a chance to order some of those vehicles and do some of them. But we've got plenty to work on. If it takes me one day to do a vehicle, that's pretty good speed as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy with that. You know? I still got 6 months worth of work. Now, without any dry brushing on it, of the ground color, and I gotta take pictures of this outside to really let's compare with the Kubelwagen that I liked how it looked. Well, the Kubelwagen has a lot more of this brown left in it, and this thing was painted overall in Dunkelgelb. It didn't have the Dunkelgelb dry brushed on black, and I like that this. I mean, this is not a good quality model, and the Zimrit pops nicely, and it looks better in real life than it does on your picture. See what you mean? SHQ reminds me a little. SHQ, they all have like minimal equipment, and everybody has the same equipment. They're not horrible figures. They're just. Oh, you're talking about Britannia. Britannia has like this face almost like James Coburn. It's not James Coburn, but James Coburn has a very distinct look to him. Okay, you look at him and it's like, oh, it's James Coburn, right? You don't need everybody in your whole army to look like James Coburn. Whether they're Desert Rats or Africa Corps or on the East Russian front, you know. AB does the same thing. Everybody AB has the same face. However, AB's face is kind of like minifigs. It's kind of nondescript. It could be multiple people, you know. But, you know, there's different tastes. I'm sure they probably could all paint up pretty well if you give them some more loving than others. But all right, let's force a couple shadows here. See this hatch? And this was not a separate hatch. That was molded on here. We need to put more of a crack there than is available. So let's get Mr. Nuln Oil down while we're waiting for this to dry. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. What else did we need on here? I think that was it. All right, back to the Nuln Oil. And this is using the mid colors that, and I didn't even use the light shade. The light shade was just stupid white. It was just way too bright. Maybe I could highlight some stuff with that. It just seems a little too extreme. Maybe a little too extreme. All right, let's drop this line right here. Get this to pop just a little bit. Oh, no, you don't. There we go. Just a little bit of a contrast there. There we go. And the same thing with this hatch up here in the... This was not a separate piece. This came molded shut. This had two separate pieces for the sides and the barrel. That was it. Everything else was all molded together. Which is a shame. This actually would look pretty cool with a German tank commander. Assault gun commander, sorry. AFV commander. Just trying to do the best I can with what the model has to offer. And I got two spots for the antennas. Because I think it does add something to have antennas. Just a little something something. Now, do we have any of this left? Well, we have some of the lighter color left. If I like how this turned out, we'll buy more of this MIG stuff. I'm pretty happy with it. It's real watery, but that's okay. It's just a little more watery than I would have liked. All right, there's a couple of hinges here. Another hinge there, another hinge there, another hinge there. Now that's clean. Yeah, that's what we're talking about right there. And let's use water. Let's not use that airbrush thinner. Let's run that edge there. This brush ended up turning out pretty good, pretty well, pretty nice, pretty me likey. If we can make this rough-looking vehicle look good, we're gonna be able to kick some serious ass on the other vehicles. I don't want to do the Germans first. The Germans have a really high cool factor. They do. That's why everybody does them. You know, they're rat bastards, but their stuff looks cool. That's why it's so popular. I think that's my reasoning why it's so popular. And again, the Russians are kind of in the same boat that the Americans are. They're not real exciting, but we're going to make them exciting. We're going to make communist stuff exciting. Yeah, on the surface anyways. All right. Let's now there is another hatch over here. It's the hatch for the driver. I guess this has a 4-man crew. Driver, commander, loader, gunner. No machine gun. They may have a radio operator. Now, there we go. That's how you make that thing pop. Let's do the same thing up here. Okay. Let's do one thing that I need to do in the future. Let me take one of my Germans, and we need to doctor him up with this basing material, just like I have that little BAR gunner. So we can take pictures of these guys. And I like how they're all painted. It doesn't look that green. It's more faded than anything else. And it looks really good at like 3 feet away. Like really, really good. And this is what I would call a crappy model. You go and do something like this. Look at the zoom rate on this Cromwell. That thing's just beautiful. It might actually not turn out as good because it's not as deep. But too bad it's 176. But that's okay. I don't mind mixing them between each other. Let's get a German guy standing up. This guy. This is Schenker, isn't it? Yeah. He's got the old lettering though. I don't think I want to use him. We'll use this guy. This guy's a corporal. Vila. They used to call him Bob Vila. W-I-E-H-L-E. Vila. All right, let's put a magnet on him. Hope that's not a valuable penny. It's funny, the penny is $19.95. That's a relatively new penny when I put that one on there. Two of them in here. Back, all we used to do is paint the base goblin green and dip it in that woodland scenic stuff. How primitive. We'll have to give this guy a... Take some of that shine off. All right, where is this stuff? Where is... I guess this would work, wouldn't it? Kind of. There's my little tool. Anything would work. Anything would work on a pinch. It's metallic. And you could not put names on these figures, but the thing is you're going to pull out a chip with a name or a number on the figure, and you can at least put a face on the name or a pose on the name. If you like, oh, this is guy's number 12, then, you know, and I don't want it, you have to flip the figure over to see what number it is, because when you put them back down, you're going to put them down on a different location. So try and avoid some of those problems. We need to go a little bit finickier with this. This one should work fine. Okay, let's grab some more of this and put it up here higher on the thing. Let's clear the edge. And let's put one happy rock there. Or maybe two. Let's not drop him on the floor. Okay. We'll let him dry. That shouldn't take any time at all. Let's Let's clean out this crap that we have on this brush. Which this brush is going to need to get the treatment anyways, because I think I used white glue on it or something, and the tip is kind of... Hey, even I can be careless. It happens. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Pretty happy with how that turned out. Now, Balkan Kreutz time. And we're going to put one on the rear, like over here. If you put one on the Zimrit, I got to hand paint it. I don't think I want to do it. It's going to look like shit. Even if you do it right, it's going to look like shit. Let's see what kind of Balkan Kreutz decals we have. We have a bunch to choose from. And unfortunately, they're all over the place. Because when I was building these models, I just kind of threw them over. These are from the Eschi kit. Those should be fine. I want ones that have the little black in them. No, I didn't throw them all over the place. I threw them in one place and I found the place. Okay, that's good. Yeah, see, this is what I'm used to the decals looking like. It's not all one decal sheet. Here's a US star, and it is just a decal over the round portion of it. Why is the whole sheet like one decal? That's stupid. You know? Here's the Franken Panzer from Eschi. The 3M from Eschi. Schwimmwagen, Kugelwagen, and the other side it's sealed. This must be the one that came with the stug. All right. This is another Panzer IV from Eschi, but I only own one. Okay. This is one of the Hasegawa kits. Those are going to be newer than anything else. So, looks like I already took two off. I wonder what the hell I used them for. I'm putting decals on that stuff. Panzer 4J. Alright, maybe we'll use it for that. The Panzer Jaeger. Don't tell me they've got decals for the... They don't. For the 1/16th. 251. And I'm like, oh, I could do ones with no black in them. Nah, I want to do the black ones in there. I don't know who the hell are these, but these look like they're in bad shape. They got some water on them. What's this? Oh, this is instructions for something or another. Instructions for an Achilles, and I don't own one. My buddy Jeff must have had one. Okay, and here's another one. This is the ones from the Panther. Okay. We're going to grab one of the Hasegawa ones. They're probably in pretty good shape. Yeah. I don't want to do the transparent crosses on a vehicle that's Dunkelgelb. It doesn't pop really well. I don't really like them either. I like the black in the middle of them. All right, let's take, where's this little container that I just had? Here, let's go get some water. Be right back. Well, got the gloss coat that little spot. Let's get Vila out of there. All right. Let's get the old fork here. That's what I use for the clear coat. This is a pain in the ass to find, by the way. Actually, I didn't see what side. Well, there's more space over there. It's going on that side. That's the one that's going to end up being. I'll put all these guys back. Nice. All right, let's take a look at, maybe take a look at something. I still have this window up. I do. Yep, that one has the decal there. Wow. Yeah, well, I would put one on the side, but I'm not putting it on that Zimret. That would be a problem. That will be a big time problem. Now, I don't remember how long this thing takes to dry. But we're certainly not waiting 24 hours or some nonsense like that. I don't have the patience for that. Waiting for paint to dry. this thing is, I think, small enough to fit on this section up here, so it shouldn't overlap this little step, that little step there. So we shouldn't have a huge problem with attaching it. Just dry enough. It is now. Whatever I do will come out a lot better than those damn US stars. Micro set. Ah, yes, vinegar. The wonderful smell of vinegar. I don't like this resting on the barrel. There we go. I got corks galore, so. Wow. It is an old decal. Let me take a little bit more softening than that. I got a better pair of tweezers than that. See if we can get it to move here. If not, we got tons of other ones. I just figured this would be one of the newest ones to move. The US ones move real quick. Wow, they're not budging. I literally had to pull it off. It's going to be difficult. What a little bitch. I don't know about this micro set, this micro whatever it is, the set. It seems like it's leaving a little bit of a white film underneath it, and I'd rather it not be that way. So I don't know that I'm gonna apply anymore. All right, you ready to stay in your spot? It's moving. No. I guess there's a lifespan on decals. Some of these are... We're going to clear coat over it, so... Well, these are 20 years old, every bit of them. Probably a little older than that. I've got some that are even older than that. All right, we're going to leave that be right there. Let's put this away before we spill it on us. I don't think I'm going to use microsol on it. It's a blessing compared to those American decals. You've done 100 Shermans lately. Dozen 2 decals are the worst part of the process for sure. Welcome, Joe Malfi. These shouldn't be that difficult, but they're old. They're really, really old. And these I did on my Shermans sucked because normally if you have a symbol like this, it's a cross. You know, it's around the cross. This is like one big sheet. This sheet of Sherman decals, it's all one sheet. So you literally have to cut the thing out, and they're thick. So these suck. They applied okay, you know, but I can tell that there's microsol everything. It doesn't. They're just super thick. And then after I get them and put them on like a bunch of vehicles, they're like, I look at reviews of them, and yeah, everybody hates them. Like, thanks. I didn't think I needed to look at reviews of decals. You know, that there's that poor quality control of them. So, anywho, the Stug 4. I don't think I'm going to put any, because of the Zimmerit, I don't think I'm going to put any other colors on it. I'm just going to leave it in this color. So, I think I'm just going to leave it in that color. Which means I'm going to go ahead and dust this thing up with Iraqi sand, which is what the color is going to be. The basing of it is going to look just like this. So, we're not going to go crazy. These decals are still better than using the little Big Man Studios for that 15mm stuff. That is just extremely unforgiving. You put it in the wrong place, you're just give up. It's over. Curtains for you. It's curtains for you, so. All right, we should be able to use this. We're not going to clear coat before we do this. We'll just do it at the end. I need to do some I need to cut some corners, and that's how I'm deciding to cut them. And we're not going to do this super heavy. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This is my first attempt at doing a vehicle since painting all the 15s for ancients and medievals. So it's not that I don't know how to paint vehicles, it's just that I've got a lot more patience and a lot better set of skills than I did the last time I attempted this. And I have access to the internet where other people have great ideas too. You know, when I painted my other vehicles, you know, they're not bad, but there was nobody around to kick ideas from. So you're trying to learn stuff in a vacuum, so to speak, instead of share information from each other. Let's do the top like that. Let's do the top like that. And I think the method that I use has a minimum of steps. Some people have too many steps, just really discouraging to. And if you get them in the wrong order, you forget and stuff like that. And I think it's pretty easy to reproduce this on a regular basis, how it's going to look. And we'll have to take some pictures with this in natural light. This thing is fucking awesome. It's just turned out really well. So regardless of how yellow that Dunkelgelb looks, at the end of the day, it looks pretty freaking good. Now this light is going to make it look a little bit more green than it is, but if you can compare these two guys, I think it looks the part. I think it looks the part. And there's no chipping, there's no rust streaks, none of that stuff. That's just way over the top, you know. I don't have dirty knees and stuff on my soldiers, so that would be the equivalent. If I want to put rust stains and stuff on here and chipping, then I've got to put, you know, worn uniforms and stuff like that on the 20s, and that just doesn't. That's just not equivalent. It's not the same equivalency. Here's my BAR gunner that's complete with the new way I do the basing. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Considering this is what I would call a very rough model. Very rough model. Very much so. So, anyhow, it's 9:30. It's about to be transom light 30, where we're going to get the light here. We're not going to be able to see what we're doing, so we're going to call this one a done. And in 3 hours and 35 minutes, even with chit-chatting, this is what we got done. I think that's pretty good timing. I'm pretty happy with that. So, thanks for coming by, folks, and you know, hopefully you learned something, or at least were entertained, or maybe learned how you don't want to do them. I don't know. This is just a way to do them. So, we're just finding shit out together. Okay. Until next time, folks. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Sunday.